सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति। I offer my pranams to our revered master, Sadguru Sri Matsudan Sai, the founder of this esteemed institution, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, established on the principle of Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya Cha, is a unique endeavor born from the visionary mind of Sadguru. His profound vision is that each graduate of this university should emerge as an embodiment of divine qualities. Therefore, the university strives to educate, nurture, and empower students to become individuals of character who are rooted in Sanatana Dharma and thereby can significantly contribute to society. This platform, Words of Wisdom, is a distinguished platform designed to provide a space for esteemed guests to share their wisdom and invaluable insights. These sessions aim to enrich the minds of our young scholars and inspire them on their journey of learning and growth. We have been fortunate to have a diverse array of speakers gracing this platform, covering a wide spectrum of subjects from material to spiritual. We have had the privilege of listening to eminent personalities in the field of history and research, such as Vikram Sampath, Shefali Vaidya, and Praveen Mohan. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Sandeep Balakrishnan, sir, who is our esteemed speaker for this session. Mr. Balakrishnan is a renowned author, editor, columnist, public intellectual, and independent researcher. He is the founder and the chief editor of Dharma Dispatch and a contributing editor to Preksha Journal. Mr. Balakrishna is also a fellow of the Indian Council for Philosophical Research. His scholarly work focuses on Indian civilization, encompassing Indian philosophy, culture, history, and literature. The Dharma Dispatch, a unique online platform founded by Mr. Balakrishna, offers an in-depth content that aims to nurture a deeper understanding of Sanatana Dharma and its influence on Indian culture. Since its inception in 2018, the Dharma Dispatch has become a leading source for insights and insightful essays and research on various aspects of Indian civilization. Mr. Balakrishna is the author of several notable books such as Tipu Sultan, The Tyrant of Mysore, and Invaders and Infidels from Sindh to Delhi, the 500 years journey of Islamic invasion. Today, we are privileged to delve into the glorious history of the Vijayanagara Empire, a topic of immense significance, especially for those of us who are from Karnataka. Mr. Balakrishna will be addressing us on the captivating topic that is glory of the Vijayanagara Empire. Over to Mr. Balakrishna, who will take us through a very enriching and informative session.
Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste and very good afternoon to all of you. Hope you have all had your lunch. Yes? Yeah? Promise me you won't sleep. Anyway, so at the outset, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to the Sri Sathya Sai group of institutions for inviting me to address today's session. And in fact, I consider it my great privilege to be present in this august institution. And as we all know, the contribution of the whole of the Sathya Sai organization to Indian spiritual heritage, culture, education, and society is truly matchless and invaluable. I would also like to extend my hearty thanks to Sri Mohan for being such a kind and understanding host. And last but not the least, a big thanks to all of you, dear students, who are present here and who have also joined remotely. And I would also like to commend Sri Mohan for giving me, suggesting today's topic, and also to Dr. Thidambar, because the importance of this topic, its relevance, it cannot be emphasized enough. Its canvas is pan-Indian, its scope is all-encompassing, and the need to study this topic is actually urgent. With this brief introduction, we can begin today's session narrating only the briefest outline of the glory of the Vijayanagara Empire, which is the topic that has been given to me. It is a highly appropriate title, but I have a slight problem with it, because when you say glory of the Vijayanagara Empire, it is like taking the fragrance of all the flowers and trying to put it inside a matchbox. So this is the problem that I face, but let's see how this goes. All right. So before I begin, let me ask a very simple question to all of you out here. How many of you sitting here have heard about something called the Navadurgas in and around Bangalore, including this area? Navadurgas. Any answers? Navadurga literally means 9 forts. Durga means fort. Nava is the number 9. And these Navadurgas include the following forts. Nearby you have Devanhalli Fort. You have the famous Bangalore Fort near KR Market. You have the Chikkajala Fort as you're traveling towards the new international airport. Then you have then you have Savandurga near Magadi. You have Chennarayana Durga. You have Makali Durga. You have Bhairava Durga, Supri Durga, and Nandi Durga. The last named fort, Nandi Durga, can anyone tell me what it is more popularly known as? Yeah, they should have answered, not you. Anyway, so all these 9 forts, they are easily accessible. Unfortunately, they have all become picnic spots. They are easily accessible. They are right in front of us. But how much do we really know about their history, their origins, their story, their glory, and their contribution to our culture and society? How many of us know that all these great forts have a long and deep connection with the Vijayanagara Empire? Most of them were built by either directly by the Vijayanagar kings or by one of their samantas or their vassals or feudatories. Now let's take one more example. This very place, Muddenahalli, all of you definitely know that it is a birthplace of the great Bharata Ratna Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. But Muddenahalli was also a big center, a major center of one of the capitals of Vijayanagar. And the name of that capital of Vijayanagar is Kolar. Let's take one more example. Just nearby Kolar is a small town. Today it is a small town called Mulabagil or Mulbagil. It is just about 1 hour's journey from here. But even 100 years ago, Mulabagal, its original name is Moodalabagil, meaning the doorway of the east. Moodalabagilu was known as the gateway to Tirupati, even just 100 years ago. It got this name, it was called as a gateway to Tirupati because of a man called Muddappa. Who was Muddappa? He was the younger brother of Harihara and Bukkam, the founders of Vijayanagar. So this Muddappa was made the governor of Mulubagilu, and during his tenure, he established Mulubagilu as one of the halting places for pilgrims going to Tirupati. ನೀವು ಹಳೆ ತಿರುಪತಿ ರೂಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಯಾರು ಹುಟ್ಟಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವಾಗ, ಬಟ್ ಹಳೆ ರೂಟು ನೀವು ಮುಳುಬಾಗಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಧರ್ಮಛತ್ರಗಳು ಅಲ್ಲಿತ್ತು ಹಳೇದು, ಇನ್ನೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪಾಳು ಬಿದ್ದು ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ದೇ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇರ್ ಎನಿವೇ. And in this regard, I would kindly request the teachers of this great institution to regularly take out students on these historical trips to this whole region in and around Kolar in order to understand the extraordinary legacy of the Vijayanagar Empire. You can see the monuments, you can see the remains of Vijayanagara physically with your own eyes. And that is a great lesson which no book can teach you. And now let's take the third and the last example. All of us out here celebrate major festivals every year. It could be Makara Sankranti, Yugadi, Sri Ramnavami, Mahashivratri, Krishnashtami, Dasara, and Deepavali. And we celebrate each of these festivals in a specific way. But did you know that these methods, the rituals, the customs and traditions, the way of puja that is performed for each festival, all these traditions were properly systematized for the first time during the Vijayanagar Empire more than 500 years ago. So tell me any other country which has this kind of unbroken continuity at the level of society, family, and community. You won't find any country that has this sort of continuity. And the best example of this is the Grand Mysore Dasara. Many of you might have attended it. Even today, Mysore Dasara is celebrated almost exactly as the Vijayanagara king celebrated 500 years back in Hampi. Almost exactly like the same thing, the same celebrations. And today, Mysore Dasara is celebrated intact. Why? Because the Mysore warriors have kept up that tradition intact till date. And the Mysore warriors had served as the feudatories or subordinates of Vijayanagara kingdom. Now, with this rather detailed background, let's get into today's topic. We can touch upon a few aspects. If the full and accurate history of the Vijayanagar Empire was narrated in the way it should be, truthfully, completely, this is a picture we get. The Vijayanagara Empire remains as an extraordinary event, not just in Indian history, but in the history of the world. The Vijayanagar Empire is also a magnificent and a continuous story of inspiration, of glory, spread over nearly 3 centuries. It was founded and sustained with the specific purpose of safeguarding Sanatana Dharma against the Turushka invasions and the constant threat of these invasions. This great empire executed this task of both offense and defense brilliantly, and so it is no surprise that today there is no area of Hindu life and society in the Vijayanagara Empire that it did not touch and turn into gold. Muttidella chinna antaralla aa kelsa maartadu. And if Sanatana Dharma continues to survive in South India today, the entire credit for it still goes to Vijayanagara Empire. Now, we can understand this in a different way. It might sound unbelievable today when I say this, what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. The Vijayanagara Empire was one of the world's grandest empires. But in the colonial version of history, that is being told to us, as if the Vijayanagara Empire did not exist at all, which brings up a logical question. What exactly is the history of Europe? Since they have written our history, we have to relook at their history. So, what exactly is the history of Europe itself? I'll give the short answer. For an entire millennium is 1,000 years. So, for an entire millennium, all European countries fought endless wars among each other. And these European countries were as big or as small as, for example, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Sikkim, Manipur, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, or Telangana. This was the size of one country in Europe. And all of them were Christian countries. And all of them were heavily feudal and they were highly class conscious. And all their kings were absolute tyrants. So this is the short version of Europe's history. But the scholars who emerged from this background of European history wrote, sweeping statements about Indian history and Vijayanagara. Now, to illustrate this, in a fuller manner, let's pick a random year. Let's pick the year 1421. And let's travel back to England and see what was happening in the year 1421 in England. That year, there was a small baby. He was just 9 months old. This baby, the courtiers, the officials, aristocrats, they took this baby and placed him on the throne and called him as King Henry VI. And this King Henry VI, he wasn't exactly a great ruler. He inherited what is known as the 100 Years' War, which continued all the way till 1453. And his rule was also notable for the, rapid murders of his own family members. And as a result, England became weak and it was repeatedly defeated by France. And if this was not enough, a civil war broke out within England during his period. And finally, Henry VI, he literally went mad. And then he was put in jail and he died in jail itself in the Tower of London in 1471. So, this is a brief story of Henry VI and the condition of Europe in the early to late 15th century. So during the same period, what was happening in India? More specifically, what was happening in Vijayanagara? Here's the answer. In the year 1422, that is exactly 1 year after this baby was put on the throne. So in 1422, a man named Devaraya II, he became the king of Vijayanagara. And from 1422 onwards, Devaraya II took Vijayanagara to really new heights. And for the next 25 years, he gave political and social stability, economic prosperity, wealth creation, and cultural and scholarly excellence throughout South India, even as England was erupting in civil war and murders. This was happening in India. Devaraya II in Kannada, in inscriptions, he is known as Praudha Devaraya, literally meaning Devaraya the scholar or Devaraya the learned man, Devaraya the erudite. So this Praudha Devaraya, he is the greatest monarch of the Sangama dynasty, which founded the Vijayanagara Empire. And the credit for fully integrating South India under the Vijayanagara Empire belongs to Praudha Devaraya. And at the height of his rule, the Vijayanagara Empire stretched from Gomantaka. Gomantaka is today's Goa. So the Vijayanagar Empire stretched from Gomantaka on the west coast to Odisha in the east coast and down to Kerala and Tamil Nadu till the tip, what is known as Cape Comorin or Kanyakumari. Praudadevaraya's rule also witnessed the highest point of Kannada literature. It was in his age that the great Kannada poet Kumaravyasa composed the immortal work Karnata Bharata Katha Manjari or Kumaravyasa Bharata or Gadugina Bharata. And Devaraya himself was a scholar and a poet, and he composed various literary works, particularly a good poetic work named Sobagina Sone and another poem called Amaruka, and a treatise on drama named Mahanataka Sudhanidhi. Praudhadevaraya also gave patronage not just to literature and scholarship, he also gave great encouragement to the famous Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics, particularly calculus. One of the teachers, a great teacher of this Kerala School of Mathematics, was a man named Parameshwara. He was given accommodation, he was patronized by Devaraya II. And when Devaraya died in 1446, he had comprehensively transformed the Vijayanagara Empire. It had become the most powerful force in South India, and not only that, through his achievements, through his life, through his example, he became a role model for all of his successors. The most notable was Krishnadevaraya, who came more than a century later, about a century later. And when he died in 1446, Europe had not even discovered a sea route to India. Now, at the height of its power, the Vijayanagara Empire was also the greatest economy of the world that chiefly attracted Europeans. And history shows us that in the 15th and 16th century, Europeans came to India to mainly trade with Vijayanagara. A man named Nikitin came all the way from Russia. He's left behind a very valuable travelogue. You can, check it out. He describes the not just the climate, but the society and culture in India. And he has given a very vivid picture of the annual Rath Yatra that goes on in Sri Shailam. So all of these Europeans came primarily to trade with the Vijayanagara Empire. And like I said, they've left behind detailed records, especially the Portuguese traders and travelers. They have a special place in their heart for Vijayanagara Empire. And people like Nunes and others, they have praised Vijayanagara as the greatest empire on this earth and the capital city as the most fabulous city in the whole world. And 3 centuries after the fall of Vijayanagara, we have a history book written by another European about Vijayanagara. It has a sad title, A Forgotten Empire. Its author was a British bureaucrat named Robert Civil. So we have to keep this kind of comparative scene of world history to get a full appreciation of the Vijayanagara Empire and its everlasting legacy. And if the story of the Vijayanagara Empire can be told in just one sentence, it is this. What began as a united Hindu resistance against alien Islamic invasions gave birth to a grand civilization that showed the world what true Hindu unity and cultural harmony could really accomplish. Now, but the flashback to the founding of Vijayanagara actually begins about 600 years earlier. It begins in the year 712 CE with the first barbaric raid of Sindh, which is in Pakistan. It was raided by a man named Muhammad bin Qasim. It was also the first encounter of the Hindu civilization with the Islamic world. This raid is popularly but incorrectly known as the Arab invasion of Sindh. It was not an invasion, it was a raid. Like a robber comes and raids your house and takes valuables and goes away. This was the nature of Muhammad bin Qasim's raid. But this raid, it also gave to the Hindu society the first taste of what an Islamic war really means. Large-scale temple destructions, forcible conversions, cow slaughter, mass enslavement of men, women, and children and boys. Muhammad bin Qasim stayed in Sindh region for just about 3 years, but the real story begins after he left. The moment Qasim leaves India, Hindus launched a very stiff resistance and began to reconquer their lost territories and systematically expelled the alien Muslim governors that Qasim had left behind. This is noteworthy, especially because this was a voluntary return of thousands of Hindus to their Matra Dharma. Which brings us to another great myth of Indian history, that the so-called Islamic conquest of Bharatavarsha was a cakewalk. On the contrary, India was the toughest country for any alien to conquer. Now, the rise of the Vijayanagara Empire is the greatest and the most successful story of this ceaseless resistance on the part of the Hindu society. By the end of the 13th century, the Delhi Sultanate had consolidated its power over large parts of northern India. But none of the early sultans ventured in the direction of Dakshinapatha or southern India, because this region, South India, was considered extremely risky and dangerous. But it was a man named Alauddin Khalji who first took this risk and became successful. In the beginning of the 14th century, both Alauddin Khalji and his general Malik Kafur, they invaded South India and caused extraordinary levels of death and destruction. And for the first time, Hindus in South India got a full taste of Islamic invasion, which they had never experienced before. The experience was so terrifying that for nearly 70 years, they were unable to even come to terms with it. And the whole of South India was depressed, demoralized, and leaderless. Now, to get a graphic picture, the first-hand picture of this, I will all kindly refer you to read a beautiful novel by the late Sri Nori Narasimha Shastri, Mallareddy. You must, all read this to, get a first-hand description of what these raids from North India caused throughout the South, and especially in Andhra. Now, let me tell you the scene in South India when Malik Kafur invaded it. There were 4 major Hindu empires constantly fighting with each other. First was the Sevunas at Devagiri, which is today known as Daulatabad. Then there were the Kakatiyas at Warangal, the Hoysalas at Dwarasamudra, and the Pandyas in Madurai. So today, basically, these all correspond to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, and Tamil Nadu. And even if 2 of these empires had joined hands, if they had united, there is no doubt that Malik Kafur would not only be beaten back, but he would have perhaps been killed in the battle. On the contrary, the Sevuna king, Ramachandra, he gave help to Malik Kafur to invade Dwarasamudra, the Hoysala territory. So this has been a tragedy. So as a result, long story short, Malik Kafur destroyed and burned hundreds of temples throughout South India, including Warangal, Pelur, Dwarasamudra, which is Halebid, Srirangam, Chidambaram, Madurai, Rameshwaram. In fact, Rameshwaram got the first mosque. The first mosque in Rameshwaram was built during the invasion of Malik Kafur. So the final result of all these invasions is this. Hindus in the whole of South India were left leaderless and defenseless, and the very foundations of their dharma were shaken. Even worse, the last great Hindu emperor of South India at that time, Hoysala king, Veera Ballala III. He was brutally assassinated by the so-called Sultan of Madurai. And with that, the Hoysala dynasty comes to an end. But to understand the scale and the extent of the damage caused by these repeated Muslim invasions of South India, you have to read an epic poem called Madhura Vijayam, which is in Sanskrit. The translations are available. Madhura Vijayam literally means the victory of Madurai. It was authored by a very talented poetess named Ganga Devi. She was the wife of Kumara Kampana. Kumara Kampana was the son of the second Vijayanagara king, Bukkaraya. And in Madhura Vijayam, she gives us an eyewitness picture of the city of Madurai, which had been completely ruined by these Islamic invasions. I will read out only some parts of the poem where she describes Madurai. Quote, O king, the city which is called Madhurapuri for its honeyed loveliness has now become the city of cruel beasts. It now lives up to its earlier name, Vyagrapuri, the city of tigers, because humans don't dwell there now. Those temples of gods which used to reverberate with the sacred melody of the Mridangam now echo the dreadful howls of jackals. In the agraharams of our city, huge columns of smoke emanating from the sacred yagnas used to rise up and reach the skies amid the sacred Vedic chants. But alas, today those same quarters send up wretched stenches of meat roasted by the Turushkas. The Vedic chants are today replaced by beastly cacophonies of drunken criminals. During the days of the Pandyas, our women used to take bath in the river Tamraparni, whose waters turned white from the sandal paste applied to their body. My lord, now Tamraparni is colored only in red from the currents of blood flowing into her from all the cows slaughtered by its wicked occupiers all over the country. O king, I cannot bear to look at the face of these Dravida ladies who were bounteously endowed with beauty. They were ravished horribly by the scourging Turushkas. These delicate women now have lifeless lips and exhale hot breaths, and their abundant hair that have come undone are painful to watch. I don't have the words to describe the suffering and dishonor painted on their faces, which know neither redemption nor protection. Close quote. This is a very small part of Madhura Vijayam. It is very, very disturbing, very difficult, very, it makes you very sad when you read it. But when all this destruction was happening, something else was also happening at the same time. The Hindus of South India had definitely been defeated, but their spirit had not been destroyed because they were not cowards. On the contrary, they were waiting for the right opportunity to take revenge and reclaim their homeland. All they needed was solid leadership, and that solid leadership was slowly emerging behind the scenes. So towards the end of his life, the last great Hoysala king, Veera Ballala III, he understood that his dynasty would not survive anymore. And so during his last days, he implemented the silent transfer of power behind the scenes into the hands of a family of 5 brothers. These 5 brothers were known as the Sangama brothers or Sangama Sodararu or Sangama Panchaka. This is a thrilling story. Just 3 years before his death, Veera Ballala III, he had appointed his son Virupaksha Ballala as the nominal successor of the Hoysala dynasty. And this coronation, this function, Pattabhisheka, it took place in the historic city of Hosapattana, which later came to be called Vijayanagara. Today it is in and around the city of Hampi. A few months later in the same year, Veera Ballala III also gave promotion to a man named Hariyappa Vodaya. Ariyappa Odeya was the loyal Mahamandaleshwara or the governor of Veeraballala III. Now, after his promotion, he became the caretaker of the coastal regions of the Hoysala Empire. Similarly, Veeraballala also divided the remaining parts of his empire among the various other commanders, Nayakas, and Odeyas who had served him loyally for many years. And in the final step, Veeraballala invited the Sangama brothers for a meeting. And in that meeting, they took a sacred vow to safeguard Sanatana Dharma against Turushka invasions into South India. This was a bloodless transfer of power, unlike succession of royal dynasties, which are usually decided either on deathbed or on the battlefield. This was a completely peaceful, bloodless transfer of power from the Hoysala dynasty to the Sangama brothers. It was a great historic event. It still is. It is also unprecedented in the political history of India. And at the root of taking this pledge, this promise to protect and safeguard Sanatana Dharma, is a great sage, a great saint named Vidyaranya Swami. He was the guru and the advisor of the Sangama brothers. Vidyaranya Swami and his younger brothers, prominently Sayanacharya, they laid the spiritual foundations for the Vijayanagara Empire. Now, Vidyaranya Swami was not just a sannyasi, he took sannyasa much later in his life. He was not just a Swami or a guru sitting and meditating, he was also a seasoned warrior and a military strategist who had fought personally in many battles. His great personality reminds us of this famous shloka that occurs in the Mahabharata. Agratas chaturo vedaha prishtatas sahasram dhanuhu idam brahmam idam kshatram shapadapi sharadapi. So we are well versed both in bookish knowledge, we have scholarship behind us, and in front of us on our shoulder, we have the bow and arrow. And idam brahmam, we are equipped both with knowledge, idam kshatram, and valor. Shapadapi sharadapi, we can use the bow and arrow, and with the same ease that we can deliver a curse. Idam brahmam, idam kshatram, shapadapi sharadapi. So both Vidyaranya Swami and Sayanacharya ensured that no Vijayanagara king ever forgot the basic purpose, the founding ideal of the empire. The Vijayanagara Empire was explicitly founded to become the custodian and the guard of Sanatana Dharma in southern India against attacks by Turushkas from north. And this is a brief story of how Vijayanagara Empire was founded in 1336. It was a great event in its own time, and once it was established, all the former Hoysala commanders, officials, and other loyalists, they smoothly merged with the Sangama brothers and wholeheartedly supported the growth of this new empire. Remember what I had said earlier, a couple of minutes back, that the Hindus in South India were leaderless and were waiting for a solid leadership. That leadership had now emerged in the form of a brand new Hindu empire known as the Vijayanagara Samrajya. Let me read out the names of the 5 Sangama brothers. Harihara, Kamparaya, Bukkaraya, Marappa, Muddappa. Like I said, Muddappa, the governor of Mulabagil. The first thing they did was to expel the remaining Muslim powers in South India and liberate the Hindu society from their tyranny. And Vijayanagara, the city, became the capital of this new empire. And one of the initial campaigns of this new empire was the liberation of Madurai. You see all the links, how they are getting joined. It was the liberation of Madurai, Ganga Devi's poem I just quoted. This itself is a thrilling story. So Bukkaraya's son, Kumara Kampana, he led this war to liberate Madurai. And after a series of unstoppable victories, Kumara Kampana finally marched straight into the heart of Madurai, and its Muslim ruler was a man named Sikandar Khan. He was defeated and killed in a short battle, which lasted less than a day. And this thrilling liberation of Madurai sent waves of happiness throughout Hindus in South India. Because after more than 70 years, the fabulous Meenakshi Sundareshwara temple were reclaimed and its doors were reopened for the first time after 70 years. Imagine, what had gone through. 70 years means at least 2.5 generations. And an inscription found in Srirangam, this is how it narrates the happiness that Hindus in Madurai felt after they were liberated. I'll read out a couple of lines from that inscription. Quote, during the Muhammadan days, in the Virodhi Nama Samvatsara of the Shalivahana Shaka, the great general of the king of Mysore, named Kampana Udayar, a native of Karnataka Desha, having conquered the Mohammedans, took possession of the kingdom of Madura. He opened the Shiva and Vishnu temples, which had been locked up throughout the country. He opened the Shiva temple at Madura and obtained a personal view of the god. The general, meaning Kampana, the general, seeing this grand sight, was extremely happy. He struck his eyes and with great piety made customary offerings. He donated many villages to the temple and many jewels and established endowments for the regular performance of worship. The general, his son and his son-in-law gave many jewels to the Shiva and Vishnu temples and ordered the sacred services to be conducted again. Kumara Kampana had saved the honor of the land. And there is no wonder that the people call him by the name of the province from which he hailed, Kampana of Karnataka. So this is a small bit from a very long inscription which tells us the first-hand story of the liberation of Madurai. And with this victory, Vijayanagara had emerged as the new unchallengeable empire throughout South India. And through their bravery, through their courage, through their valor and victories, the Vijayanagara kings infused a fresh surge of confidence in Hindus and inspired them to win freedom from alien rulers. Now, before, I'll narrate a few highlights, but before that, at the height of Vijayanagara Empire, what was the hobby and the pastime of people? Today, you discuss, Dhoni's performance, or you discuss, the latest movie, whether it is good or bad. In the Vijayanagara Empire, discussions would take place on which wrestler won which match, and which courtier, which soldier was the most well-dressed. So these are the discussions that, all these discussions, it gives us a beautiful picture of the society that existed back then. All of you must read Amukta Malyada by Sri Krishna Deva Raya to understand the social and cultural, the daily life of the people of Vijayanagara. All right. Now we'll come to a few highlights of the glory of the Vijayanagara Empire. At the height of its glory, a Portuguese traveler named Domingo Pace, he visited the city of Vijayanagara and he wrote this about the Hindus out there. And I quote him. In the Vijayanagara Empire, there were the finest young Hindu men to be ever seen or could ever be seen. And among all of them, I did not see a single man who would act like a coward. Theirs was a tradition of courage and beauty. This is what he says. Now, you see, it is one thing to win a war, but it is more difficult to sustain this victory for 3 centuries continuously. And I think this is perhaps the greatest gift of the Vijayanagara Empire to South India. And as long as this empire was ruling South India, no Muslim king from the north ever dared to look in the direction of the south. And in fact, the Bahmani kings, who were a constant source of threat to Vijayanagara rulers, they were also the sworn enemy of all these Vijayanagara kings. They lived in a constant fear of this empire. And it is said that for a full year after the death of Sri Krishna Devaraya, the Bahmani sultans actually refused to believe that he was actually dead. They believed that Krishna Devaraya's ghost had the power to defeat them. So now we can come to the penultimate section of today's discussion. So far, we have seen the brief history of how the Vijayanagara Empire was founded, the circumstances and the invasions and other things. Now we'll look at a few highlights of the role that this great empire played in rejuvenating and renewing Sanatana Dharma and its culture and society. This great empire was responsible for a profound revival of Hindu culture in all its aspects, in art, painting, music, literature, poetry, dance, philosophy, traditions, customs, social etiquette, and so on. In fact, Dr. V. Raghavan, an extraordinary scholar, he has written a beautiful paper titled "A Transmission of Sacred Education in India." So there he traces the evolution and the origins of most of the arts to the days of Vijayanagara Empire. Harikatha, for example, did not exist before Vijayanagara Empire. Terukuttu did not exist before the Vijayanagara Empire. So a lot of these new art forms evolved as a cultural gift and legacy of Vijayanagara Empire. And this revival, this rejuvenation was so extraordinary, it was so long lasting, it is continuous even today. Harikatha exponents might have declined in number, but the old music cassettes are now available on YouTube and Spotify. They originated more than 500 years ago. All right. So like I said, this Vijayanagara legacy is still visible throughout South India. And like I said in the beginning of my lecture today, the roots of the world famous Mysore Dasara go back to the city of Vijayanagara Empire more than 500 years ago. In fact, there is a direct connection between the Mahanavami Dibba in Hampi with that of the Banni Mantapa in Mysore. You must invest some time to research these, little known aspects. And finally, I will tell you the greatest gift that the Vijayanagara legacy has given to us. This empire was the most glorious embodiment of Hindu resistance to alien Islamic invasions in South India. But to understand why it is so glorious, just think about the small fact. Think about the condition of Sanatana Dharma in North India. Throughout North India, not a single Hindu temple of the classical period survives. Not one. The same thing could have happened to South India if the Vijayanagara Empire had not emerged and stood like a great wall protecting us. And on that pensive note, I will conclude my submission, and I would once again offer my heartfelt gratitude to the Sri Sathya Sai institutions, to Sri Mohan, to the entire staff out here, and to all of you in the audience, all the students here. Namaste.
There are a few questions online.
Okay.
I'll just be loud. Is it loud enough? Yeah. Vijayanagara was established to protect Hindus, but why they attacked other Hindu kingdoms? Vijayanagara kingdom was established to protect Hindus, but why did they attack other Hindu kingdoms?
Yeah. Look, so this is a familiar question. The point is, Vijayanagara Empire was established with the specific goal of preserving Sanatana Dharma. Other Hindu kingdoms had no such overarching vision. Right? Those Hindu kingdoms, they were born as Hindus, and they continued, they gave their gifts to whatever their legacy, which is good. But the causes for wars, Hindus engaging Hindu kings, fighting other Hindu kings are multiple. Like I said, in the run-up to the founding of Vijayanagara Empire, it was the Hindus, divided Hindu kings of South India, which allowed Malik Kafur to do what he did. So there are many causes why two Hindu kings fight with each other. It could be territorial expansion. It could be the putting down of a rebellious Hindu king. It's not easy maintaining an empire, just as it is not easy running any large organization.
One more question from online. Vijayanagara kingdom had sufficient wealth to maintain the kingdom. But why did they have trade relations with foreign countries, which helped Europeans to enter India?
No, you can't frame this question like this. The thing is, any country, now India is supposed to be a Hindu majority country. If you ask any prime minister, or ever since India became independent, if you ask the prime minister, why are you having trade relations with Saudi Arabia, what would be the answer? So the diplomacy is one thing, war is one thing. All these aspects are interlinked. The Portuguese, various European powers were coming into India even before Vijayanagara Empire was founded. So you can't frame these questions like this.
One more question. The rulers of Vijayanagara didn't belong to traditional warrior class. Does this suggest any similarities between Vijayanagara Empire and the ancient Vedic period, where rulers weren't necessarily from a specific martial background?
I really didn't understand this question, but just to give a related answer, what are known as warrior, classes or kshatriyas in the common parlance. Kshatriya is a temperament. Kshatra is a temperament. It is a temperament of valor. Sometimes it's inborn, sometimes it passes on as a hereditary. So a founder, for example, let's take the Hoysala Empire, founders of Hoysala. They were not Kshatriyas. All right. So Kshatat Kilatrayate Ityudagraha, meaning that which protects people or the country or the territory, anything which protects with valor is known as Kshatra. It is a guna, it is a temperament, not necessarily pertaining to a particular warrior class or something. Yes, once somebody establishes himself or herself and earns respect, makes a mark for himself or herself in the society, you build up a legacy which is carried forward by the future generations. As simple as that.
This is from girls' campus.
Okay.
How women were treated in the society during the rule of Vijayanagara Empire. Can you elaborate more on this so that few things can be implemented in the current era for Gen Z and Gen Alpha?
So much of this is, above my head, but let's see this. How are women treated? How old are these people? Asking me 18 to 22. Okay. Very difficult. You have to pardon my ignorance then. So, how are women treated? If any of you lived in a traditional family, in a traditional Hindu family, you won't need to ask these questions. The source of such questions comes from a place. I'm not blaming the questioner, but trying to give an analysis of the source of all such questions, which are learned from books, not through lived experience. So when you ask me how were women treated in Vijayanagara Empire, they were treated as good or as bad as they're being treated today. So it depends where you stand and ask this question.
This is my question.
Okay.
I'm from Raichur, but I never heard the famous Raichur incident which you had mentioned in one of the podcasts.
Hmm.
Can you tell that itself? Because I see my friend Venkatesh is also from Raichur, and
Okay.
he also may not know the famous Raichur.
This is what the Battle of Talikota or?
No, where the Vijay.
Oh, Krishnadevaraya's, okay, Battle of Raichur. So that was one of the greatest battles ever fought by any Vijayanagara king. So one of the Bahmani kings, he repeatedly tried to cause trouble to Krishnadevaraya. And there is a beautiful book called, if you want to understand Krishnadevaraya not as a king, but his daily routine, what he would do every day once he got up and before going to bed. There is a small monograph called Krishnadevarayan Dinacharitri or Dinachari, small monograph in Kannada. It's beautiful anyway. So this man, Krishnadevaraya, was short-tempered, but he was one of the great wrestlers. He would provoke elephants so that they would attack him and he would wrestle with their trunk. Push them physically back. An elephant, trained war elephant. So you can imagine his strength and the kind of power and confidence that it gives. So this Bahmani king was repeatedly trying to cause trouble to Vijayanagara. Encroaching his lands and, sending his small armies, gundas basically. So he warned him, stop doing this. I'm not a nice man. So that guy didn't listen. So this fellow said, okay, I'll teach you a lesson. You won't forget. And with a massive army, 20,000-30,000, he marches across, to Raichur and encamps on the other side of the Krishna river. And this guy is on the other side. And before declaring a formal war, Krishnadevaraya sends a message to this Bahmani king. He says, there is still time. Listen to me or I will crush you. He still doesn't listen, and then Krishnadevaraya chases him so badly, slaughters 90% of his army, and that guy has nobody to protect him, this Bahmani king. So he runs away and then finally he takes shelter somewhere, and he sends one of his messengers saying that, look, pardon me, forgive me, I'm sorry, please, I committed a great mistake, forgive me. So Krishnadevaraya sends a messenger back with one more message saying, ask your king to come to my tent personally and lick my shoes. Then if I am in the mood, I may forgive him, but I am going to crush him. So that fellow ran, he abandoned his city of Raichur, and that is how Raichur was brought into the possession of Vijayanagara Empire. Does that answer your question? Done? Thank you.
We thank you, sir, for that very informative and inspiring talk. So we also learned so many things about Vijayanagara Empire and its glory, and also we also hope we all have got good information about how the wars used to be in that time, and how we got freedom, and the story of unity also he told. So many things we have learned. So now I'd like to call Mr. Anand sir. Mr. Raghu sir, to hand over a token of love. With this, we'll conclude this session. Once again, expressing our gratitude to Sir and also to Sadhguru for giving this wonderful opportunity to interact with such eminent speakers. And also, I would recommend you all to watch Sir's podcast, which is with, you are all familiar with the channel that is TRS or Ranveer Show. So you can just watch that. That is also very nice. There are also so many other podcasts which you can refer to. With this, we'll end this session.